Part 112. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1111. It's also strange. Even when Master killed this monster, he was a little doubtful as to why such a monster existed. Han Xian nodded. For ordinary monsters, it is quite remarkable that they can understand some of the great ways. But for this monster to be able to understand the ways of the ocean, it is already very remarkable. These words coincided with what Xiao Xian thought. Faced with such a situation, there was still a bit of curiosity on his face. What kind of behemoth is it that has such great abilities and the courage to understand the ways of the ocean? Not that the way to the ocean is scary. However, for ordinary monsters, it is already remarkable to be intelligent. Monsters who can embark on the path of cultivation are also considered the best among them. And now, this so-called giant fish spirit beast can actually understand the way of the ocean. This is definitely not something that ordinary monsters can do. More importantly, now, the way of the ocean that this monster has understood cannot even be understood by many human practitioners. This is simply unbelievable. For tens of thousands of years, human practitioners have claimed to be the primates of all things. But the current situation is a slap in the face. From a certain perspective, even human cultivators cannot understand these ocean ways. Doesn't it mean that this monster is more amazing than most human cultivators? Smarter? Of course, for the vast majority of people. They won't admit it. But this is the undeniable fact. Good. Then I'll go take a look. I feel that with the help of the fish spirit's heart, maybe there is a chance to gain enlightenment about this white bone fish head. Xiao Xian said. Hearing these words, Han Xian also nodded slightly. If this is true, then it is also a rare opportunity for you. The two of them talked all the way out of the deep secret vault of Yuling sect. Inside Yuling city. Because of the snake green troubles before, many Yuling sect practitioners were frightened and fled Yuling city. But recently I heard that Shiqing was restrained by the Yuling formation and killed by a divine bird. These practitioners also returned to Yuling city with doubts. There are white bones and fish heads in Yuling city. A place like this is an excellent training place for most Yuling sect disciples. So they are also very willing to return at this moment. Therefore, Yuling city is now gradually recovering some popularity. Although it is not as good as it was at its peak, it is not so deserted. Xiao Xian and Han Xian were walking in Yuling city wearing face-covering cloaks. Along the way, the two of them dressed up in special ways, which also attracted the attention of many people. The reason is not just about them. On the contrary, it was about the followers around them. Some people saw that the followers around them were all high-level elders of the Yuling sect. This is simply earth-shattering news. Ever since the Yuling sect faced a catastrophe, Han Xian, the leader of the Yuling sect, has disappeared inexplicably. This has also been criticized by countless people. But now, in the Yuling sect, can anyone still enjoy such treatment? Isn't this a bit strange? Could it be said that South Korea and China are back? Han Zhong, you, a spineless guy, still have the dignity to return to Yuling city. At this moment, several strong men with swords and axes appeared and stood directly in front of Xiao Xian and Han Xian. When the Spirit Snake Alliance came to Yuling city, you were like a turtle, but now Spirit Snake Shiqing from the Alliance was beheaded, and you still have the nerve to come back. Yes, why do you have the face to come back? Get out of Yuling city. Han Zhong, you are not worthy to be the leader of Yuling sect. Someone takes the lead. Soon, many onlookers gathered in Yuling city, and even Yuling sect disciples participated, and they all denounced Han Xian. This was beyond what Xiao Xian and Han Xian expected. He said this. When Long Tai saw this scene, he quickly stepped forward to explain, everyone has misunderstood. These two are not the thieves of Hanzhong. Hanzhong is no longer in the sect. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian and Han Xian looked at each other, and reluctantly pulled away the cloak on their faces, revealing their true appearance. Not planning to let them leave. It seems that they have no choice but to stand up and prove their identity. Faced with the support of so many people. Judging from the looks of these onlookers, they seemed to be targeting Hanzhong, but they mistook them for Hanzhong. Old sect master Han Xian? Is he the one who was driven away by the Hanzhong thieves? Old sect master Han Xian. Is he the one who killed Shi Cheng? It's really the old sect master Han Xian. But for ordinary practitioners in Yuling City, this is questionable. They even wonder if Long Tai is deliberately covering Hanzhong. Han Xian was obviously a little moved, his eyes were slightly red, and he said, "Yes, I, Han Xian, are back again." Among them, a tall Yuling sect disciple scratched the back of his head and suddenly said loudly, "I recognize you, aren't you the one who killed Shi Qing in the Yuling formation?" "What? Great, now if the Yuling sect has the old patriarch Han Xian to take charge of the overall situation, the rise of the Yuling sect is almost inevitable. This time, Shi Qing has the strength of the Dragon God realm. Doesn't it mean that this young man is also a strong Dragon God realm? But why is his aura only the Blue God realm? Even though he has left the sect for hundreds of years, there are still so many people supporting him, which really makes Xiao Xian look at him with admiration. Yes, old sect master Han Xian, as long as you give the order, we will be the sworn enemies of Korea and China from now on." "What?" It made Xiao Xian sigh with emotion. In fact, it is somewhat credible. Everyone has suffered over the years. The reason why they hide their identities is just to avoid unnecessary trouble, but who knows, trouble will still come to their door. But, old sect leader Han Xian, who is this young man next to you? He looks a bit familiar. From this situation. Old sect master Han Xian, how did that beast in Hanzhong drive you away at that time? We will seek justice for you. Onlookers gathered around. Seeing this, Han Xian and Xiao Xian also felt helpless. They had seen people looking for trouble, but never seen people looking for trouble like this. Some of the people who besieged recognized Han Xian and said in surprise, "Old sect leader Han Xian, you are finally back." Among the onlookers, many people recognized Han Xian and said excitedly. After all, many people in the Yuling sect knew that Long Tai had a bad relationship with South Korea and China. It's impossible for them to travel like this. "Are you, old sect master Han Xian?" Therefore, many people still surrounded Xiao Xian and the others. It seems that Han Xian was indeed quite prestigious in the Yuling sect before. "Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors." Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1112. For a moment, the eyes of many onlookers were focused on Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry about this. He was just thinking about it and quietly understood the way of the ocean inside the bonefish head. Don't want to cause too much fluctuation. But who knew, he would still be recognized. He had no choice but to accept this and admitted his identity. This time, it caused even more sensation. Basically, most of the people in Yuling City are disciples of Yuling sect, and even if they are not, they are mostly practitioners who have practiced the way of Yuling. They don't have a good impression of the tyrannical Spirit Snake Alliance. Now, everyone naturally regarded Xiao Xian as their hero and began to praise him one after another. "Little brother, look at your realm, which is around 5 stars in the Blue God realm. How did you kill Shi Cheng? Shi Cheng is a strong person in the Dragon God realm. It is said that it was with the help of the power of the fish spirit formation, but how did you activate the fish spirit formation by yourself? It's a bit unbelievable. If it were applied to others, you might still be suspicious, but if it were applied to you, it's understandable. To be able to stand next to the old sect master Han Xian, he must be a highly valued disciple of the Yuling section. Is this a gifted son? It does seem like this. If this is the case, won't our Yuling sect become the largest sect in Nanzan Haizu in the future? I have long heard that if you want to gain enough power, you must do enough things. Perhaps only with this brother's strength can we really hope to make the entire sect rise. Hear these kind words. Even Xiao Xian himself felt a little embarrassed at this moment. Despite this, he still maintained a trace of clarity in his heart. He knew that as a cultivator, he must maintain a humble and prudent attitude at all times. Although many people praise him now. But these compliments were only because of his killing of Shi Qing, but in fact he knew that killing Shi Qing was also a matter of luck. If it weren't for the help of the fish spirit formation and Xiao Lu, he wouldn't be Shi Qing's opponent in a head-on confrontation. So now, he is really not proud of it. Okay. This is Xiao Xian, the disciple of the Yuling sect that I chose. Speaking of which, Xiao Xian is indeed an outstanding disciple that has been rare in my Yuling sect for hundreds of years. Han Xian also praised Xiao Xian. He is truly an amazing person. With disciples like this here and old sect master Han sitting in charge, we no longer have to worry about Lao Shi's Spirit Snake Alliance. You're right, what nonsense Spirit Snake Alliance, Shi Qing has been killed, they don't even dare to fart, I think they are also scared. All the disciples in Yuling City said one after another. Hearing this, Xiao Xian and Han Xian looked at each other helplessly, with a bit of helplessness in their eyes. They all know it too. These people in Yuling City may be right now and praise them to the heavens. But actually it doesn't have much effect. Future. If the Yuling sect really wants to face off against the Spirit Snake Alliance, whether these people can rely on them is another question. More importantly, Han Xian discovered that these disciples were all at the Blue God realm and not at the Golden God realm. These realms were basically of no use in a battle at the level of the Fish Spirit Sect and the Spirit Snake Alliance. The Spirit Snake Alliance only needs to dispatch a few Golden God realms to kill them all. This is not just talk. That's all. Today, Xiao Xian wants to understand the way of the ocean inside the white bone fish head. Everyone, please give way. Under the hint of Han Xian's eyes, Long Tai also stepped forward and drove away some people who were joining in the fun, clearing a path for Xiao Xian and Han Xian. Under such circumstances, instead, these people became more curious. You must know that the white bone fish head is the most valuable secret treasure in the entire Yuling city, and countless people try to understand it every day. But almost no one succeeded. Now, Han Xian introduced Xiao Xian here, which indeed aroused their curiosity. They also wanted to see if this so-called talented disciple had the ability to understand the way of the ocean. At the beginning, the oppressive dark blue ocean road really suppressed him and made him almost unable to move. At this moment, Xiao Xian held his breath and concentrated. If Xiao Xian can really understand the way of the ocean, it must be a great opportunity for him. As far as his current strength is concerned, it was as if he was already in the ocean. To know that feeling. It is not impossible to enter the Golden God realm in one fell swoop. He discovered that these ocean ways were actually not that scary. On the contrary, the majestic ocean power seemed to have rules and could be controlled. He just sneered at this and didn't care. Ebb and flow. The way of the sea. It seems that this white bonefish head is relying on this method to drive him out. Even breathing was a little uncomfortable. Wanting to control the power of the ocean was indeed a bit of a fantasy, but he was not worried. Instead, he patiently allowed his soul to invade the way of the ocean, and began to slowly fluctuate with the ocean tides to understand the mysteries of the ocean. Rely on understanding the ways of the ocean. Watching the tides of the sea, I began to silently touch the natural power brought by these tides. The thought of this. The waves hit this reef tirelessly. And now, Xiao Xian is the disciple who is favored by Han Xian, and it is very likely that he is the person who has truly entered the Golden God realm. They can roughly know. Xiao Xian opened his eyes and found that he seemed to be in an endless sea. A group of people were also curious and looked at Xiao Xian with some solemnity in their eyes. But gradually the time he spent in the bonefish head gradually increased. Is it just in the tide? He had even obtained such a precious treasure as the heart of the fish spirit, so how could he be afraid of a small fish head with bones? From the Tianyuan continent to the prehistoric continent, from the East Barren continent to the Nanzan High continent, he has experienced countless hardships and obstacles. Not to mention that the bonefish head is just a head now, even if the real fish spirit beast is here, he may not be afraid. They became even more interested and started talking about it. Finally arrived in Yuling City. His eyes sent Xiao Xian into the white bonefish head. But at this moment, Xiao Xian had no intention of paying attention to the movements of these people, because as he walked into the bonefish head, he clearly felt a strong ocean breath coming towards his face. Isolating the interference from the outside world, using my understanding of the way of the fish spirit, I began to slowly explore the way of the ocean inside the bone-white fish head. Xiao Xian muttered to himself silently. The strong ocean atmosphere almost suffocated him, and the majestic power within it made him feel extremely depressed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1113. Time flies. Xiao Xian stayed in this fantasy sea for an unknown amount of time, and he understood the tidal fluctuations of the sea all the time. Every fluctuation. They all allowed Xiao Xian to silently understand some truths about the sea, and at the same time, they also made Xiao Xian feel the surge of energy in it. He discovered that this so-called Dao of the sea was not like a bunch of avenues that could be understood at will. On the contrary, it seemed to be a strange way of operating Dao power. This really aroused his curiosity. At the same time, he also felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Once in Qinglian Valley, he also obtained a great way of releasing called the Way of Ancient Trees. It was also at that time that he discovered that the power of the Dao was released in different ways. Now, could it be said that this ocean Dao can also greatly increase the speed of the Dao's power? Think of this. He couldn't help but feel a little more curious and excited on his face. The speed of Tao power is definitely an extremely important ability. If the speed of Tao power is increased, there will be many benefits whether during combat or during cultivation. Especially when fighting, if you can increase the speed of your Dao power when fighting against others, you can definitely greatly improve your combat effectiveness, and you can even kill the opponent with one blow at a critical moment. This is absolutely no joke. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian calmed down and began to slowly understand the ways of the ocean. A trace of the deep blue ocean. It was like appearing in the void, slowly and tentatively touching Xiao Xian, and then instilling it into his body, while improving his body's understanding of the way of the ocean. Boom! Under a loud noise, Xiao Xian opened his eyes. When he saw the scene in front of him, he couldn't believe his eyes. It turned out that just now he was trying to activate the great Dao in his body. Just a tentative release of a trace of power directly caused a huge tsunami, directly smashing several square meters of hard sea rocks. Xiao Xian had seen these rocks before. They are basically tempered by sea water, and every piece is extremely hard, not weaker than the fine steel magic weapon. According to his usual strength, it would be extremely difficult to crush him. Who knew that with one move today, a large sea rock would explode in an instant? What a terrifying way to the ocean. I really didn't expect that this ocean path, which looks gentle, could suddenly burst out with such terrifying power. Xiao Xian couldn't help but sigh. He has seen many powerful people in such a long time, but to be honest, he has never seen a Kengshen realm practitioner who can burst out with such powerful power. Brother system. How about my understanding of the way of the ocean? It looks amazing. Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask. Although he still doesn't know the true identity of the system, this does not affect his admiration for the system. He could feel that with the system's ability, it seemed to be an encyclopedia on the Dao continent. As long as there was a Dao on the Dao continent, the system could tell everything. Therefore, he really wanted to ask the system how he understood the way of the ocean. Did not expect. You can still make such a choice. Understanding the way of the ocean is not something that happens overnight. For tens of thousands of years, the number of people who can completely understand the way of the ocean is probably not more than one hand. There was a bit of emotion in the system's voice. After hearing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned, but then he nodded, acknowledging the system's words. The ocean road is also a great avenue. On the entire Dao continent, not all cultivators can participate in practicing the ocean way. Many practitioners have never stepped into the ocean way throughout their lives. Although Xiao Xian is self-effacing. Fortunately, there was some help from old sect master Han. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to understand the way of the ocean. If it is an ordinary cultivator, it is already very remarkable to be able to obtain such a way of the ocean. For things like the way of the ocean, it is a luxury for ordinary cultivators to even get a glimpse of it. They were all people who knew Xiao Xian relatively well, and they all knew that Xiao Xian was definitely exposed to the Tao of the ocean for the first time today. However, Xiao Xian's talent for the Tao of the ocean showed that they could not believe it. But it was different after meeting Xiao Xian. At the same time. Now, Xiao Xian is a person who has just practiced the way of the ocean. Han Xian, Long Tai, and others all looked at Xiao Xian dumbfounded, as if they had seen some monster. This kind of talent is definitely not something ordinary people can have. This was also something he had to admit. Not only did he watch with helpless eyes, Xiao Xian used the realm of Kang God realm to fight against the Dragon God realm, but he also saw Xiao Xian single-handedly open the fish spirit formation with his outstanding talent. These two things alone were enough to make him admire him. Next to the bonefish head, Elder Long Tai admired sincerely. It can even be said that Xiao Xian's talent is extremely outstanding in the entire Yuling sect and even the entire three Eastern alliances. Praise for Han Xian. For the first time you meditate, you can get the great understanding of the ocean way. This is already a very remarkable thing. For so long, I didn't expect that young master Xiao Xian would be able to achieve such an achievement after comprehending the way of the ocean for the first time. It's really shocking. He is a stubborn elder of the Yuling section in recent years. He has refused to accept anyone in the Yuling sect except the sect leader Han Xian. Congratulations, Mr. Xiao Xian. He had already felt it just now. Bite off more than you can chew. Xiao Xian was able to achieve such results for the first time through enlightenment. This is definitely not something that ordinary people can do. Xiao Xian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Even so, my understanding of the way of the ocean is only superficial and nothing. But Han Xian and Long Tai both expressed admiration. The heart of the fish spirit has been helping him improve his understanding of the way of the ocean, and Han Xiangong is indispensable to obtain the heart of the fish spirit. He was even able to comprehend it for the first time and use it in battle, which is the most remarkable thing. As long as you can understand the basics of it, it is actually very remarkable. Xiao Xian has already done a good job in this regard, so he is quite satisfied. But now, Xiao Xian is not only able to understand the essence of the way of the ocean. Xiao Xian felt a little embarrassed instead. He understood that being able to comprehend the way of the ocean of meaning was indeed due to his own talent. More importantly, it was actually the help of the fish spirit heart. Han Xian exclaimed, "For hundreds of years, you may be the only one who can understand the way of the ocean from the bones of the fish head. It's amazing. But now, I see Xiao Xian using his own ability to understand the way of the ocean. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1114. What? Can this Xiao Xian really understand the way of the ocean? It's unbelievable that someone so young can have such a talent. It seems like our Yuling sect has really found a treasure this time, right? The group of disciples watching were not fools either. They all noticed that after Xiao Xian came out of the bones of the fish head, the aura of his whole body was different, which really surprised them. After all, for hundreds of years, those cultivators who have entered the white bone fish head, not to mention comprehending the way of the ocean, everyone who comes out is dizzy and looks like they have lost their soul. How could someone like Xiao Xian have the ability to truly comprehend? Even if Xiao Xian only understood a little bit of the way of the ocean, this is still an extremely remarkable thing. At least it can be regarded as the strongest talented disciple in the Yuling sect in hundreds of years. What are you going to do? Looking at you, it seems that you still have to go to Bian Valley to find old man Bian, but you should also know that this matter is not that simple, right? Han Xian hesitated and said, maybe you can think of other ways. After saying these words, Xiao Xian couldn't help but be stunned. He knew what kind of person Han Xian was, and he wouldn't take the initiative to say it if he wasn't sure of something. At this moment, he took the initiative to say such words, which also made Xiao Xian a little curious. You mean, do you have other ideas? Can Bai Yang take the initiative to cooperate with us? Regarding Han Xian's statement, Xiao Xian's first reaction was actually suspicion. Although Han Xian is not a person who talks freely, what he said is indeed not as simple as imagined. But now listen to what Han Xian wants. He seems to have his own opinion on this matter. Please tell me, Master Han Xian, do we have any other options? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask. There is a way. If you can become a disciple of Bian Valley, maybe Bian Valley will help Yuling section. Han Xian said. When he said these words, he immediately aroused the surprise and astonishment of a group of Yuling sect disciples nearby. Even Long Tai, who trusted Han Xian the most, was a little unbelievable. Now Xiao Xian has shown his powerful cultivation talent. Such a person, no matter which sect he is placed in, is definitely an extremely important disciple. As the leader of the sect, how could Han Xian say such a thing? Let Xiao Xian go to another sect? Isn't this equivalent to destroying the Great Wall and giving away a talented disciple for nothing? Thinking of this, not only Long Tai, but also other disciples of Yuling sect looked at Han Xian with strange eyes. It was Xiao Xian who was the party involved. It seems that I heard something from this. As the former leader of the Yuling sect, Han Xian would naturally not be able to do such a stupid thing unless there was a profit behind it, and this benefit was greater than the loss of Xiao Xian leaving the Yuling sect. Then just think about it for a moment. He could also roughly guess that a talented disciple like Xiao Xian would leave Yuling sect and go to White Flame Valley. Yuling sect can definitely make some demands. It is almost a matter of course for the people of Bian Valley to choose to give some benefits to Yuling sect. So, what does Han Xian want that can make a disciple like Xiao Xian leave? This is definitely something worthy of Xiao Xian's attention, and it even makes it a little difficult for him to understand. What are you going to do? What exactly do you want from Bian Valley? Can this thing really guarantee the safety of the Yuling sect? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask. When he asked this question, Han Xian next to him showed a calm expression. I don't want anything, as long as old man Bai Yan guarantees your safety. Hear this. Xiao Xian was stunned for a moment, and then looked at Han Xian in surprise, unable to believe his ears. He originally thought that Han Xian made such a decision because he relied on something. He felt that relying on this method could protect the safety of Yuling sect, which might be understandable. But now, listening to Han Xian's intention, he didn't prepare to ask for anything. Just want Bai Yanggu to protect his safety? There is no doubt about it. In the White Flame Valley, there are Dragon God Realm experts stationed there, so it is not difficult to protect Xiao Xian. But this is not the condition Xiao Xian wants. He, Xiao Xian, was once the lord of Tianyuan continent and the Great Desolate Continent, and could be regarded as the king of the world. How could he be so humble as to beg for protection from others? This is simply unbelievable. With Xiao Xian's character, even if he was beaten to pieces by a strong man from the Dragon God realm of the Spirit Snake Alliance, he would never give up his dignity to ask for protection from others. What's more, Xiao Xian still has the protection of the River of Time. If he really encountered a critical moment, he might not be able to escape safely, but now, even his escape route was thought of by Han Xian. This really moved Xiao Xian's heart. Practice together. There are many difficulties to begin with. It is not easy to find someone who is willing to help him. Now, Han Xian can help him to this extent, which naturally makes Xiao Xian extremely moved. He could think that if he really went to White Flame Valley, the person who would be scolded the most within the Yuling sect would definitely not be him, but Han Xian. The reason was very simple, it was Han Xian who asked Xiao Xian to leave. But Xiao Xian knew. The reason why Han Xian chose to do this was not selfish, but just for Xiao Xian's good. He hoped that Xiao Xian could protect himself in this crisis of the Spirit Snake Alliance. In the era of spiritual energy recovery, all kinds of strong men emerge endlessly. Even some ancestors who have been in seclusion for many years have been born one after another, and they all want to go further in order to find the power to advance. In such an era, for a talented disciple like Xiao Xian, it is both an opportunity and a challenge. It is entirely possible for him to rely on these powers to become a strong man with strength, or he may encounter those veteran strong men and be brutally killed by them. After all, he is a talented practitioner. No matter where it is placed, it is definitely a coveted existence, and may even arouse the greed of many people. Please rest assured, Master Han Xian. I, Xiao Xian, am a disciple trained by Lord Yuling. Even if I die, I will not leave Yuling section. My trip to White Flame Valley is just to seek cooperation, not to learn from my master. Xiao Xian said with a solemn expression. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1115. Hearing Xiao Xian's words. Han Xian's first reaction was relief, but then he frowned tightly and looked at him worriedly. In fact, the reason why Han Xian made such a decision was very simple. On the one hand, it was to promote cooperation between Yuling sect and Bian Valley, and on the other hand, he hoped to allow Xiao Xian to develop better. After seeing Xiao Xian was able to comprehend the way of the ocean in the white bonefish head, he has fully recognized Xiao Xian's ability in his heart, and hopes to use this opportunity to let Xiao Xian get more training resources. Of course, Han Xian did this for the Yuling sect. Ever since he knew that his master, Venerable Yuling, had taught Xiao Xian all the inheritance of Yuling's ways, he understood that Xiao Xian must be the hope of the future of the Yuling sect, and he would keep it no matter what. This fire. So now. He also thought that he hoped to quickly improve Xiao Xian's strength by letting Xiao Xian go to White Flame Valley. But who knew that Xiao Xian actually refused directly? This was beyond his expectation. In fact, if it were put before, Han Xian was a man of integrity and would never let his sect disciples suffer such injustice. But today is different from the past. Now, his realm has fallen from the Golden God realm, and he has no say in Nanzan Hai's Hu. In order to keep a fire like Xiao Xian, he can only bite the bullet and make this choice in shame. After all, The current strength of Bian Valley is much stronger than that of Yuling section. If Xiaoxian can go to Bian Valley, even temporarily, if you preserve your strength, you will definitely achieve great results in the future. But now, if Xiaoxian must stay in Yuling sect, facing the Spirit Snake Alliance that could besiege them at any time, Han Xian actually didn't have much confidence in his heart. Perhaps, if one day, the Spirit Snake Alliance launched a massive siege, he might risk his old bones. Go fight with others. But he didn't want to see Xiaoxian destroyed. Do not worry. When I go to Bian Valley this time, I will definitely be able to convince Bian Valley to cooperate with our Yuling section. Xiaoxian said directly. This was said with great force. However, some of the worshipping disciples and even the great elder Longtai in the Yuling sect were a little skeptical. No matter how you say it, Bian Valley is a large sect that is not weak in strength. Although the rise of the Spirit Snake Alliance in recent years has had a considerable impact on them. However, there are also Dragon God Realm strongmen in the Bian Valley section. Even if the old man Bai Yan was injured recently and his strength has weakened, in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, except for the Spirit Snake Alliance, there is really no one who can control it. How about Bian Valley? This is also the foundation of Bian Valley. Xiaoxian was in the Kang God realm, and even if he had done some seemingly shocking things recently, it would not be able to move a strong man in the Kang God realm. To put it mildly. As for Shi Qing, who was half dabbled in the Dragon God realm, if he were placed in Bian Valley, he would never dare to be so presumptuous. Even if the old man Bian was injured, he could still slap him to death. So now, even Han Xian is worried about Xiaoxian's trip to White Flame Valley. He would even suspect that if Bian Valley and the Spirit Snake Alliance had reached a cooperation, maybe Bai Yan Valley would continue to hand over Xiaoxian to the Spirit Snake Alliance directly. That would be the worst result. Do not worry. Even if something unexpected happens, I have the ability to protect myself. Xiaoxian said seriously, 3 days, if I can't reach cooperation with Bian Valley within 3 days, you can leave the sect and go to the deep sea. After saying this, everyone in the Yuling sect looked solemn. Abandoning the sect and going to the deep sea is a path that most Nanzan Haizhu sects choose when they encounter the danger of annihilation of their sect. Han Xian. However, as for what he just said, in the deep sea of Nanzan Haizhu, there are tens of thousands of islands dotted with stars. Some islands contain secret treasure resources, and some islands contain dangerous sea beasts. It can be said that the deep sea is a place where opportunities and dangers coexist. Now, Snake Wanlong, leader of the Spirit Snake Alliance with long red hair, sat on the highest floor of the Spirit Snake Cave with his eyes closed. This time you go to White Flame Valley, no matter what the conclusion is, I will be in charge of the Yuling section as long as I, Han Xian, are here. The Yuling sect will never dissipate. But now, when they faced Snake Wanlong on the stone platform, each of them didn't even dare to express their anger, just like a mouse seeing a cat. And if a sect is forced to go to the deep sea, it will prove that they have no chance of survival on the mainland. This is the last resort. Is that the useless sect master who has been practicing for hundreds of years but fell from the realm of the Golden God? Does he still have the nerve to come back? After hearing this, Xiaoxian felt a little more confident. At least, he was not alone in the Yuling sect now. Don't worry. These people are all high-level people in the Spirit Snake Alliance. They are usually at the leadership level in Nanzan Haizhu. For hundreds of years, countless deep-sea gold diggers went to the deep sea with the dream of exploring the secrets and grabbing treasures, but in the end no bones were left. Xiaoxian smiled. But overall it's still mostly dangerous. This is not the first time I have done this. Since I have chosen to become a disciple of the Yuling sect, what does it mean to take risks for the sake of the Yuling sect? On top of the Spirit Snake Giant Mountain, within the Spirit Snake Alliance, the atmosphere was a bit solemn. Snake Wanlong sneered. For a while. So, Shi Qing was killed by a Kengshen realm cultivator in the Yuling sect. It was enough to make the people in the sect have a good impression of him, and even have a sense of active surrender. Seeing that all the disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance were afraid to speak, Snake Ao stood up carefully and said, "It is said that this is a disciple brought in by Han Xian. This disciple is quite talented and his name is Xiao Xian. Let's not talk about whether Xiao Xian can finally use his own ability to promote the cooperation between Yuling sect and Bian Valley. Don't worry." Within the Yuling sect, many disciples had solemn expressions on their faces and were a little speechless. Snake Wanlong's voice was hoarse and unpleasant, like the bottom of a pot rubbing against each other. Underneath them were 12 sect elders from the Spirit Snake Alliance. Han Xian couldn't help but ask in the end, if this is really the case, maybe what you need to do is not that simple. And you don't even know his name. So to say. His words naturally aroused the good impression of all the disciples of Yuling sect. "You must go to White Flame Valley." "Good." Han Xian's eyes were firm, as if he was there for the section. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors." Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1116. But it sounds like the Xiao Xian is very powerful. You can actually kill the dragon god with the blue god realm. Snake Wanlong opened his eyes. In an instant, the temperature in the entire cave seemed to have dropped a lot. It turned out that his pupils were vertical. The whole person didn't look like a human being, more like a cold-blooded snake. This, it is said that it mostly relied on the power of the fish spirit formation. In the end, Shi Qing used the blood-burning technique, but was still killed by a sudden appearance of a divine bird. Shi Ao said carefully. "Sacred bird. Fish spirit formation." Snake Wanlong turned his head and stared at Snake Ao with his white eyes. Didn't Master Yuling not appear for hundreds of years? How did the Yuling formation activate? Is it still Han Xian who is this loser? Reporting to the sect master is not. This fish spirit formation is said to have been activated by Xiao Xian. Snake Ao was a little scared. At this moment, the powerful man who was half a step into Dragon God realm did not even dare to raise his head to look at Snake Wanlong. Crack. He, such an amazing disciple, a person in the Blue God realm can actually activate the fish spirit formation? Why does he have this ability? Snake Wanlong's hand moved. An extremely hard white jade stone was instantly crushed into pieces. Then, with a cold look in his eyes, he said, "If this is true, doesn't it mean that Xiao Xian's fish spirit understands it even more deeply than Han Xian? Say it." There was also an uproar in the Spirit Snake Alliance. All the disciples had shock on their faces and started talking one after another. Snake Wanlong's eyes became even colder. He twisted his neck and made a heart-wrenching sound of bone twisting, which made the approaching Snake Ao feel palpitations. Snake Ao knew that the snake blood in Snake Wanlong's body had almost exceeded 40%, which was already a quite terrifying level. Because of these snake blood, Snake Wanlong's body also has signs of snake bloom. Not only is its body flexible to an astonishing degree, but it is also extremely sensitive to taste and temperature. When fighting, if the Snake Wanlong stimulates the blood of the snake clan, in a short period of time, his snake bloodline could be increased to more than 50%. At that time, Snake Wanlong was almost a giant snake. Interesting. I didn't expect that. In the Yuling sect, there are people like this that surprise me. Snake Wanlong sneered, although the people of the Yuling sect have average combat capabilities, the flesh and blood on their bodies is indeed the most delicious the sect leader has ever tasted. Send the order. If anyone can capture Xiao Xian alive, this sect leader will reward him to replace Shi Qing and become the left guardian of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Yes. In an instant, there was a burst of agreement within the Spirit Snake Alliance. In the Spirit Snake Alliance, apart from Snake Wanlong, who is the leader of the clan, who is at the Dragon God realm, the two left and right guardians, Snake Ching Snake Ao, can reach the Dragon God realm. As for the other elders, their strength is also at the level of the Golden God. If you want to further improve your strength, the fastest way is to get the position of the left and right guardians. Thus, there will be resources that Shi-Ching could enjoy before, and the speed of cultivation will naturally increase by leaps and bounds. However, if you usually want to get the position of Shi-Ching Xiao, you will undoubtedly have to treat these two people as enemies, which is very dangerous. Not like now. It would be much simpler if one could obtain the location of the Zhou Protector by capturing a mere Kenshen realm. At this moment, however, Xiao Xian and Long Tai had already disguised themselves and quietly left Yuling City and walked towards the direction of Bian Valley. But now he knows that Long Tai's soul has been damaged. Doesn't this mean that Long Tai cannot practice other avenues and can only rely on tempering his body to improve his strength? But he didn't think much about it at the time. Xiao Xian sympathized. This is simply unthinkable. If they are not careful, once their whereabouts are known to the Spirit Snake Alliance, they will face great danger. Really? Along the way, Long Tai shook his head, sighed, and said, speaking of which, what I practiced before was also the way of the fish spirit, but later, my soul was damaged in an accident and I couldn't practice, so I had to temper my body. After all, it is very dangerous to go to White Flame Valley this time. Xiao Xian didn't understand the truth of this. How did you temper this physical strength of yours? Is it a little too strong? Xiao Xian originally believed that the physical strength of his body was tempered by the dragon body pill and was very powerful, at least it should not be weaker than Long Tai. I said, Brother Longti. For cultivators, tempering the body is not only extremely painful, but also the cultivation speed is much slower than that of ordinary cultivators. Although this is slower, it can avoid most of the crowds. This really made Xiao Xian a little unbelievable. In his impression, what the disciples of the Yuling sect practiced was basically the Yuling Avenue. Although this avenue was comprehensive, it was more about tempering the soul and Taoism. And there is no tempering of the body. Long Tai is now at the peak of the Blue God realm, and is only one step away from the Little Golden God realm. Such a realm is already extremely rare among physical temperers. Xiao Xian can also roughly imagine what he is practicing. How much hardship we suffered along the way. Because they wanted to avoid the eyes and ears of others, neither of them dared to release the power of the avenue casually, so they basically relied on physical strength to walk. Long Tai turned back. It's like walking on flat ground. After seeing that although Xiao Xian was panting from exhaustion, he was not pulled too far, he nodded in approval and said, yes, what I practice is not the way of the fish spirit in the sect, but the fine iron way. Xiao Xian nodded, but this aroused his curiosity. You are also a disciple of the Yuling section, why don't you practice the way of the fish spirit? Instead, temper the way of refined iron? Don't you like the way of the fish spirit? Road. But after walking for a while, after struggling to climb up a huge boulder, Xiao Xian couldn't help but be curious. If what I know is correct, what you practice doesn't seem to be the way of the fish spirit, right? A divine soul. After hearing this, Xiao Xian was suddenly shocked. After all, generally even cultivators who temper their bodies will also assist in cultivating a certain avenue. The first time he met Long Tai, he could feel that the latter was tall and strong, and must be a good hand at tempering the body. Long Tiran is tall and powerful. No matter he is walking on the mountain path or on the wooden bridge over the stream, he can walk as fast as flying. Along the way, according to Han Xian's instructions, they all crossed the main road and walked on the path. Why can Long Tai have such strong physical strength? It is certainly difficult to repair the soul, but haven't you ever thought about using some elixirs to treat it? In this way, they can complement each other and improve together. Only then did he realize that his idea was a bit too naive. Even so, they also discovered many Spirit Snake Alliance spies following them along the way. Xiao Xian and Long Tai were not polite to these people and killed them all. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1117. Haha. When old sect master Han Xian was here, he also looked for some soul elixirs, but after using them, they had no effect, so he gave up. Long Tai smiled naively and said with an indifferent expression, speaking of it, I haven't practiced Taoism for such a long time. In fact, I don't feel any worse than others. Although the training process is a bit harder, I'm used to it. Hearing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but sympathize. On the previous 2 continents, he had also learned something about the physical tempering, and the pain he experienced was definitely not something that ordinary people could bear. Apart from anything else, the few cultivators Xiao Xian knew who relied on their bodies to become saints were all extremely powerful, but the pain they experienced was by no means comparable to that of ordinary people. Elder Long, don't move. I'll take a look. I also learned the soul restoration technique from a strong man on the eastern wilderness continent before. Let's see if I can use it on you. Xiao Xian took Long Tai to a cave. After sitting down cross-legged, he slowly released the soul energy in his body that had reached the divine realm. Under his control, the milky white divine soul energy seemed to have vitality, and was slowly instilled into Long Tai's divine palace, and he began to explore the divine soul in the latter's divine palace. Looking at it, Xiao Xian really saw something wrong. In Long Tai's originally perfect soul, there was a crack as fine as a hair. If he had predicted correctly, this tiny crack should be the damage to Long Tai's soul. Now Xiao Xian can be regarded as a strong figure with a high spiritual level. It is not very difficult to use his divine soul realm to treat a dragon iron who is only in the Taixu Empress realm. For the situation at hand, Xiao Xian really had some thoughts on treatment. On the one hand, the power of his divine soul, no matter where it is placed, is absolutely extremely powerful. On the other hand, he also has the 10,000 gold prescription and the heart of the fish spirit. Putting these 2 treasures together, maybe Xiao Xian still has a good chance of healing the crack in Dragon Iron Soul. Think of this. Xiao Xian also condensed the soul in his body, transferred it to Long Tai's palace through his arms, and used his powerful soul power to repair Long Tai's damaged palace. This is an extremely delicate job that places high demands on the healer. If you are not careful, not only Long Tai's soul will be further damaged, but even Xiao Xian's own soul will be greatly affected. At this moment, Long Tai just felt it. Wave after wave of majestic divine soul power slowly poured into Xiao Xian's body. Under such power, he clearly felt that the power of his soul was constantly recovering, and the originally injured and dim divine palace also regained some vitality, which made him a little unbelievable. You know, since the injury. For so many years, the power of the soul in Long Tai's palace has been very weak. Every time he uses the power of the soul, he will feel a heartbreaking pain. Over time, he tried his best not to use the power of the soul. Now, under Xiao Xian's treatment, Long Tai clearly felt that his originally useless divine palace was slowly beginning to become complete. Even under the infusion of divine soul energy, his divine soul realm gradually improved, which really made him a little unbelievable, and looked at Xiao Xian with a strange look in his eyes. Long Tai has also seen some powerful spiritual cultivators before. Even Venerable Fish Spirit, who was once in the Dragon God realm, took action once, but he was not fully cured. He originally thought that the hidden wounds on his body would never be cured in this life, but who knew that Xiao Xian had given him such a big surprise now. Xiao Xian, can you really heal my soul? It's unbelievable that the power of your soul can be so powerful. Could it be said that the realm of your soul has surpassed the real realm? Long Tai is not a fool either. After feeling the surging soul power in Xiao Xian's body, he also realized that Xiao Xian's soul realm might have surpassed the real realm. This is definitely something that is unimaginable to ordinary people. Xiao Xian is now only a 5-star cultivator in the Kangshen realm, but the divine soul realm can actually reach the divine realm. It was just a fluke. Xiao Xian shook his head slightly. With this soul energy, we should be able to heal your soul injuries. As for the rest, whether your soul can continue to practice depends on you. Although Xiao Xian said so modestly. However, for Long Tai, it was already extremely remarkable. At that time, even after Lord Yuling came forward, he only managed to recover some of his soul power and did not make his wounds worse, that's all. But now, Xiao Xian's action could actually make his wounds show some signs of healing, which was something Long Tai had never dared to imagine before. Master Xiao Xian, if this is really the case, don't you mean that my wound can be healed? Long Tai felt a surge of excitement in his heart. It should be close to 10. Xiao Xian nodded. Then, thank you so much. Long Tai felt that his eyes were a little moist. You are welcome. It's just a trivial matter. Since we are all from the same sect, it is natural to help each other. Needless to say, Xiao Xian didn't care. As the founding Yuanling, not many people could be recognized by him over the years. Although the strength of Elder Long Tai of Yuling sect is not very good. However, as an elder of the Yuling sect, he was loyal to the sect, and this alone was enough to gain Xiao Xian's approval. On the other hand, Xiao Xian understood better that in the current Yuling sect, there were not many people who could gain Han Xian's trust. Long Tai was definitely the most important one, and that was why he spent so much thought on Long Tai. Swallow this pill and protect your heart. Xiao Xian hesitated for a moment and said to Long Tai, I can give you an opportunity. Hearing Xiao Xian's words, Long Tai's first reaction was to be stunned. Although he had not been in contact with Xiao Xian for too long, he still knew him well. From a certain perspective, although Xiao Xian is only a 5-star member of the Blue God realm, his status in the Yuling sect is no less than him. Even sect master Han Xian pays so much attention to him, which is enough to prove his abilities. This can elevate your spiritual realm to the real realm. It should be of great help to your cultivation, right? Xiao Xian suddenly asked. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1118. Inside the cave. After Xiao Xian said these words, Long Tai could not conceal his inner excitement. On the entire Dao continent, almost all outer sect cultivators know that after tempering their bodies, their physical strength will be greatly improved, but at the same time, because the spiritual power of outer sect cultivators is relatively weak, their weakness is also the soul. If Xiao Xian can use means to forcibly improve Long Tai's soul realm, it means that Long Tai's shortcomings in this aspect can be made up for. Although it is said that it will not turn Long Tai into a figure who can rival the Golden God realm, but it can also greatly improve his combat effectiveness against others. At least, it can make him a rare opponent in the Golden God realm. In that case, then I'll bother you. Long Tai was a little embarrassed. Although he and Xiao Xian were both fellow sects in the Yuling sect, it was already rare for Xiao Xian to use his soul power to heal his hidden wounds. How could it be possible to let Xiao Xian help him improve his soul realm? This is a bit much. However, looking at Xiao Xian's appearance, he seemed to be ready. If he wanted to refuse again, it would be a bit too much. Wanting to understand this, Long Tai also took the elixir handed over by Xiao Xian and swallowed it in one gulp. Then he felt a blazing divine soul energy emerging from his qi. After this divine soul energy appeared, it was like an amulet, constantly strengthening his body. What surprised him even more? At this time, Xiao Xian actually separated a majestic soul power from his body and instilled it into his body. This really surprised Long Tai. He finally figured out what Xiao Xian meant. He actually planned to use this method to forcibly improve his soul realm. In an instant, Long Tai felt cold sweat all over his back. He knew that Xiao Xian's method of improving the realm of the soul was not new. Many masters of soul cultivation would use this method to forcibly increase the level of the soul of their disciples. It is obvious that this method can indeed improve the realm of the soul very quickly. But it is undeniable that if one is not careful during the promotion process, it may cause serious consequences, not only for the person being promoted, but also for the soul of the person being promoted. A little carelessness may cause your own soul to be injured. Most people may not know about such a situation, but Long Tai has indeed seen many such situations in the Yuling sect over the years. Xiao Xian, is this a bit too risky? Long Tai couldn't help but said, actually, you should know that for us outer sect practitioners, the realm of the soul is not that important. Having said that, but, wouldn't it be a good thing if it could improve your spiritual realm? Xiao Xian asked while controlling the power of the soul. Hearing this, Long Tai was also embarrassed, but just nodded, it is indeed a good thing, but will it be a bit too much for you? Long Tai didn't say some words, but he understood them in his heart. To the Yuling sect, Xiao Xian's value was much greater than him. Even at that time, Han Xian thought about actively letting Xiao Xian join the White Flame Valley for the sake of his safety. Such a thing. If you put it on others, it might be difficult to understand, but Long Tai and Han Xian have known each other for many years, and they can understand the latter's meaning. Therefore, at this time, Long Tai did not want Xiao Xian to take any risks because of him. Don't worry, I'm measured. Xiao Xian also roughly guessed what Long Tai was thinking, and said directly, it's just some soul power, it won't have much impact on me. After hearing this, Long Tai felt relieved. In fact, Xiao Xian was not arrogant. It was only after reaching the divine soul that he realized how majestic the power of the soul in this realm was. Now, let alone helping Long Tai attack the real soul, even if he can attack the middle level of the real world, it is not impossible. Time flies. A few hours later. Under Xiao Xian's indoctrination, the power of the soul within Long Tai's divine palace also underwent a qualitative change. Finally, we successfully entered the real world. Long Tai opened his eyes, and in an instant he felt that the hidden dangers in the divine palace were wiped away, and the power of his divine soul also greatly improved his perception of the surroundings, which made him feel extremely comfortable. Thank you so much, Mr. Xiao Xian. Long Tai looked grateful. A piece of cake. Since you are the person Elder Han Xian trusts most, you are also the person I, Xiao Xian, trust most. Xiao Xian said it in one sentence with an understatement. For him, the things he did might be simple, but for Long Tai, this matter was of great significance. You can rest for a while, and we will continue on the road, Xiao Xian said. No need. Young Master Xiao Xian, you may not know that this place is not the territory of our fish spirit sect, but the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Long Tai calmed down his previous expression and said seriously, so, it is not suitable to stay here for a long time. Hear this. Xiao Xian was stunned instead, his eyes were a little strange. What's the situation? Now Long Tai told him that he shouldn't stay here for a long time. Isn't this a little too weird? If you had said this earlier, wouldn't he have left earlier? Why would you still be here to improve his spiritual realm? Did you deliberately hide it from me just now? Xiao Xian couldn't help but say. No. I didn't react just now. I took a closer look just now, and I didn't expect that this place is actually a branch of the Spirit Snake Mountain Range. Long Tai was a little embarrassed. Actually, no matter how we walk, we will pass through the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance, but we don't need to worry too much. As long as we don't encounter strong men in the realm of the Golden God, we have nothing to fear." Hearing this, Xiao Xian also nodded. He knew that Long Tai, as someone who had been in Nanzan Haizu for many years, naturally had a deeper understanding of Nanzan Haizu than he did. After Han Xian's instructions, Long Tai will definitely choose the path that suits them best. In this case, passing through this territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance should be a last resort. In this case, he had nothing to complain about. After thinking about it, Xiao Xian said directly, "Then we should hurry through this mountain range. If we can reach the White Flame Valley safely, we will be much safer." "Yes. But Mr. Xiao Xian, you don't have to worry too much. Although this mountain range is the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance, due to lack of resources and inaccessibility, few people come here. Long Tai comforted, so, we are relatively safe. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1119. That's a pity. Xiao Xian smiled slightly. Since he came to Nanzan Haizu, he has not seen any other monsters except Snake Wind. Originally, he wanted to see how his divine soul would behave when fighting against people. How much power? Unexpectedly, Long Tai said this. This made him a little regretful, and he just shook his head and said, "In that case, forget it." Thinking of this, Xiao Xian's face became more and more disappointed. But who knew that just as he finished speaking, there was a sound of thin footsteps behind them. This time, Xiao Xian and Long Tai became serious. They had been walking in this mountain range for several hours. During these hours, they had not met anyone. The sudden appearance of footsteps naturally made them panic. The two quickly turned around, only to see something moving deep in the cave, and then hiding behind a stone. Xiao Xian and Long Tai looked at each other with confusion on their faces. But they still waited patiently to see who it was, but after waiting for a long time, there was no movement deep in the cave, which made them a little suspicious. "Who?" Long Tai scolded in a deep voice, "Your Excellency, you are the one who comes out when you have the ability. Why are you hiding behind rocks? Don't you dare to see people with their true colors. Say it." Xiao Xian found that there was still no movement behind the stone, as if there was no one. Xiao Xian and Long Tai couldn't help but look at each other. They were all experienced practitioners, but today, looking at the situation in front of him, he was still a little confused as to what this guy in the cave was going to do. "I'll go over and have a look." After Xiao Xian said something to Long Tai, he slowly released his soul and released it towards the guy behind the stone. At this time, he found that he couldn't feel a soul behind the stone. This really made him confused. On the Great Dao continent, from the Dragon God realm to the Spiritual God realm, practitioners in any realm will have the power of the soul. The only difference is how strong the power of the soul is. But now, he couldn't feel a trace of soul in the guy behind the stone. This is a bit strange. Could it be said that there are still people in this world who do not cultivate the soul? Do you simply rely on the flesh? Plant. Xiao Xian hasn't yet figured out what's so great about this guy, but he just found that this guy seems to have a kind of beast power that ordinary monsters don't have. This kind of beast power is similar to the blood pressure of the ancient prehistoric beast in Xiaolu. Different, yet real, it really made him a little confused. Since coming to Dao continent, he has been to many secret realms, but even in the secret realms, he encountered very few golden treasures. This makes people wonder. This made him stunned. Long Tai hesitated for a moment and continued, "It can only be said that the current dragon tree is not old enough, so there is no life, but if the years accumulate to a certain extent, they will have life. Moreover, the strength of dragon tree after adulthood is also he will not be inferior to ordinary powerful people in the golden god realm. When he carefully walked behind the stone, he discovered to his embarrassment that the person behind the stone was not a person, but a round monster like a pig. Xiao Xian found that the guy behind the stone was still motionless. He lost his temper and drew out the serious sword and flew towards him. Xiao Xian couldn't believe it and couldn't help but take another look at the thing on the ground. Speaking of which, Xiao Xian himself is also somewhat interested in this golden treasure. Based on previous experiences, the spirit detecting eye will definitely not make mistakes. This is a bit abnormal. You must know that his eyes are enhanced spiritual eyes, which are extremely sensitive to treasures. Once they encounter treasures, they will be sensitive to them. Now, seeing the golden light on this monster beast, he couldn't help but get excited. Only now. You have been in Nanzan Haizu longer than me, and you should know more about the situation here than I do. Please come and see, what is this thing? But just when he turned around and was about to leave, he suddenly noticed that there was a trace of golden light on this monster. Now, I see this trembling monster hiding behind the stone. You mean, this thing is a plant? Long Tai also came over and looked down, with a helpless smile on his face. Waited for a while. Although they look like monsters, they don't have soul power in their bodies. This is the biggest difference between Nagarjuna and monsters. Golden light? Nagarjuna? Why have I never heard of it before? So, this is a lifeless plant, Xiao Xian said. He saw that this thing had a head, a tail, and even two round little black eyes. Why did it turn into a plant in Long Tai's mouth? How can this be? Since it can be seen that there is golden light on this monster beast, it is enough to prove that there is something remarkable about this monster beast. Xiao Xian was a little dumbfounded, so he simply didn't take it to heart and turned around to leave. Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask, Elder Long Tai, are you kidding me? Why have I never heard of this kind of creature in Nanzan Haizu before? Plants, I clearly saw this guy moving just now. Master Xiao Xian, you don't know something. This thing is called dragon tree. It is a unique plant in our Nanzan Haizu, Long Tai said. How could this monster appear in a place like this? He had also learned before that the cultivators of the Spirit Snake Alliance took pleasure in killing monsters, so in the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance, there were basically very few monsters that appeared on their own initiative. Seeing Xiao Xian's surprised face, Long Tai was not surprised. He just smiled slightly and continued, for people outside Nanzan Haizu, if it is the first time to see this dragon tree, they will indeed think that this dragon tree is like this, it's a monster, but actually, this dragon tree is relatively easy to distinguish. Xiao Xian asked Long Tai with a puzzled look on his face, it looks like a monster, but I don't feel the soul breath on it. This thing doesn't seem like an ordinary monster. You can say that, but you can't say that completely. However, this dragon tree usually grows in Zhongzhou. I also saw it when I went to Zhongzhou for business by chance. I didn't expect that such a thing would exist in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizu. It's a bit strange. Elder Long Tai. Who knew that he would encounter a trace of a golden treasure today? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1120. Hear these words. Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned, his eyes full of doubts. According to normal principles, monsters are monsters and plants are plants. How could there be an existence that is both a monster and a plant? Besides, didn't Long Tai make it clear just now? This is just a plant, so how can we talk about the year? Could it be said that this dragon tree can be alive as long as it is old enough? This was simply something that Xiao Xian couldn't believe. Isn't this possible? Didn't you just say, Elder Long, that this is just a plant from your Nanzan Hai's Hu? Why are you now saying that this thing can be alive when it is old enough? How is this possible? Xiao Xian opened his mouth wide. In fact, he had roughly understood what Elder Long Tai said, but whether he could understand it was one aspect, and whether he could believe it was another question. Now Xiao Xian was really a little confused when faced with the little Nagarjuna in front of him. Then let's put it this way. This thing is a plant. If it grows up, will it turn into a living monster? Xiao Xian asked. Long Tai also nodded, indicating his approval. But now, the two of them stared at Nagarjuna on the ground, not knowing how to deal with it for a moment. What he knew very well was, the Nagarjuna in front of him must be an amazing treasure, but right now, he doesn't know how to use it. At this point, maybe he was really curious. Xiao Xian only encountered the golden treasure once after he came to Dao continent, but that time the treasure was real and could be seen. Today's dragon tree was so real that it was a little difficult for him to understand. Elder Long Tai, will this thing be good for cultivation? Xiao Xian asked tentatively. I've never heard of this. Long Tai also frowned. I have heard that in the central area of Nanzan Hai's Hu, there is a section from the sect leader to the disciples. They are all very old Nagarjuna adults. Their name is Long Shuzong. Say it. Xiao Xian on the side was also moved in his heart. Are they all Nagarjuna? Long Tai just said that once this dragon tree transforms, he will be a strong man at the level of the golden god. If a sect is full of people who have taken the form of Nagarjuna, doesn't it mean that the lowest level of people in this sect are all in the golden god realm, and the sect leader has even reached the dragon god realm? If this is the real situation, doesn't it mean that one day in the future, there will be a conflict between Nanzan Hai's Hu and Dong Huangjia's Hu, and the fall of Dong Huangjia's Hu will only happen in an instant? The situation is not that dangerous. On the 4 continents of the Dao continent, each continent has its own formation to protect the continent. This level of formation is difficult for even a strong dragon god realm to break in an instant. Therefore, attacks between continents rarely occur. All I saw was that the surface of this dragon tree was wrinkled, and its body was still warm. It really felt like a sleeping little monster. It even moved occasionally, as if to remind Xiao Xian that he was not an ordinary dragon tree. It is said that this was arranged by a divine and powerful person who once became a saint. The purpose is to hope that the Dao continent will reduce internal fighting. If such a sect were placed on the eastern wilderness continent, it would definitely be a first-rate section. Even sects like Qinglei Palace and Juxing Pavilion would bow to it. This can be seen from Xiaolu's body. But despite this, he didn't expect that there would be powerful people in the Golden God realm walking around in the middle of Nanzan Hai's Hu. On the eastern wilderness continent, there are only 3 Golden God realms in the entire continent. But who would have thought that a few decades ago, the Golden God realms in Nanzan Hai's Hu were already everywhere? As a human being, the primate of all things, his cultivation speed should be considered the fastest among all things. What is the origin of this dragon tree, and he can actually transform into the realm of the Golden God? Am I a little too outrageous? Incredible. Xiao Xian couldn't help but shake his head. In this way, Dong Huangjia's Hu is really ridiculously weak. If Zilong He's Hu and Beijia Qingzhou are so powerful, how strong will the practitioners be? Xiao Xian was not polite and directly picked up the dragon tree and looked at it carefully. Don't say anything else. After saying this, Long Tai beside him just shook his head and continued. If he can find the secret of the origin of Dao continent from this, then the secret of the disaster of Tianyuan continent and primordial continent may be discovered. However, to be honest, Xiao Xian was really curious about this dragon tree. A plant could turn into a powerful person in the Golden God realm depending on the year. This was the first time he had seen such a cultivation method. The central region, that is a place full of strong people. Long Tai showed a longing look on his face. At that time, I was just an ordinary spiritual god realm, but in Zhongzhou, the golden god realm can be seen everywhere. Strong people, even those in the dragon god realm, appear by chance. Hiss. After hearing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. A dozen Nagarjunas are a dozen strong men at the level of the golden god? According to previous experience, among all things, whether it is monsters or other races, if the cultivation speed is faster than that of humans, then there must be something special about it. Infighting. Xiao Xian suddenly looked a little curious on his face. On Nanzan Hai's Hu, Xiao Xian could roughly guess that such a sect must not be weak in strength and should be considered a top sect. Doesn't this mean? Figure this out. Xiao Xian couldn't help being surprised. He knew that the strength of Nanzan Hai's Hu was much stronger than that of Dong Huangjia's Hu, so the central part of Nanzan Hai's Hu, as the core area of the entire continent, must be as strong as the forest. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. The few people standing on the top of Donghuang giant continent, placed in the middle of Nanzan Hai's Hu, are just ordinary people. He is very interested in these historical things in Daodao continent. Intuitively, he believes that these historical inheritances are likely to hide the secrets about the origin of Daodao continent. What's even more enviable is that as long as the year is enough, plants can easily turn into human forms. That's a little weird then. Xiao Xian is a little sensitive. This is enough to prove that there must be treasures in the body of this dragon tree that ordinary plants do not have. Could it be said that this is the reason why the body of the dragon tree emits golden light? So strong. Not many. Longtai shook his head. With all the calculations, there are only a dozen Nagarjuna people in human form in the Nagarjuna section. How many dragon trees are there in the central region? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask.